have this fantasy that people will make copies of this and hold no they can't signs up when their state politicians promise that if we just give them more money and power, they'll solve all our problems. And maybe the idea is catching on. Here's a family in California that made a copy and put it on their house. Of course, some people don't like this sign. At the Albuquerque airport, TSA screeners took it for inspection and returned it in pieces. I had to make this new one. Now, I don't claim to have a right to carry my protest sign through airport security, but on my own property, I would think so. But in Norfolk, Virginia, a business owner put this sign on his own property. It complains that after 50 years on this street, 78 years in Norfolk, he and his hundreds of workers are now threatened by politicians who want to take his business through eminent domain. That's the law that lets politicians condemn your property for what they call public use. After he put that sign up, the city said it violates zoning rules and ordered him to take it down or pay fines of $1,000 per day. The sign's still up because the Institute for Justice took up his case. It's a libertarian law firm, and they paid First Amendment lawyer Steve Simpson to defend the business's right to protest. So what did the bureaucrats say was wrong with this sign?
John, what they said was that the sign is too big. This is a sign that's 375 square feet. Bob Wilson, our client, who's the proprietor of Central Radio, put this sign on his building because he wants to be heard. He is really angry that his land is being taken. So he put the sign that you just saw up there.
And the city says, take it down, it's too big, or $1,000 a day, but they backed off once you got involved.
Yeah, well, that's not surprising. Oftentimes they'll come out with, the guns blazing, and as soon as they find out that a property owner or a small business has IJ or lawyers on board and is willing to sue them, all of a sudden their tune changes a little, and they say, well, maybe we really didn't mean it.
I mean, nobody knows what the rules are, I assume, in this town, and on a city building in the town, here's a banner advertising the hockey playoffs, which is much bigger, more than twice the size of Central Radio's sign.
Yeah, that's right. If you get to drive around town, you'll see all kinds of signs on other buildings that are as large as, if not larger than my client's signs. Old Dominion University, which is the entity that our client's land is going to be taken to be used for.
Let's explain that. Let's give the background and the original reason for the fight. Central Radio, which for 75 years did work for the Navy. These days they install these surveillance cameras on Navy ships. Then suddenly, Norfolk's Redevelopment and Housing Authority declared Central Radio's property blighted and got local judges and politicians to approve it's being taken from the owner and given to this university for a student center.
It's absolutely ridiculous. You can see for yourself the building's not blighted.
And eminent domain's another issue, so let's stick with the free speech issue, the sign in the building. We talked to the city attorney, and some of the statements are telling. Zoning statutes get tinkered with every 10 years or so, has made it daunting to deal with, can get convoluted to understand. I mean, nobody knows what these rules are, and they keep passing more.
Yeah, that's an understatement to say that they can get convoluted. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for about 18 years. I hunted through the sign code. I frankly can't tell why it is that some of these buildings are allowed to have banners on them and our clients are not. So
he says it can be a safety issue. The permit process for signs to make sure it's fire retardant and made of appropriate materials.
A safety issue. This is a cloth banner. I mean, what's going to happen? It might blow off the building and get stuck on the fence. I mean, John, if you look around, you'll see that all the other buildings in the area have been cleared. So what happens? The sign comes off and it blows into an empty lot somewhere. They'll pick it back up and stick it back on the building.
Somebody
it's not
might
a safety
trip
issue.
over it.
Yeah.
The most telling one, the law does not require the city to allow people the most convenient way to speak out in protest.
Well, what the Supreme Court has held is that people have a right to protest what their government is doing, and that's when free speech
but the most convenient way is this big, ugly sign on the building. The neighbors' eyes are strained.
Well, the neighbors can avert their eyes if they don't want to look at the sign. The sign harms no one. A city sign code can be legitimate if it prevents people from using signs in a way that might harm traffic, present a safety hazard, inhibit other people's ability to use their property. That's obviously not what's
How about
going
beautification? How about really ugly stuff?
Beautification is in the eye of the beholder. I don't think that should be a legitimate grounds, but even though the courts have on occasion said it is, in this case, the sign can't possibly present any problems. It's in amidst a number of empty lots because the city has gone and knocked all the buildings down. So, you know, it's not like there's some aesthetic problem with having a sign on the side of the building.